joining our community network. Um, you know me, I'm Sherry Seda. I'm the 2020 president of Women's Council of Realtors LA Beverly Hills. Today we have four great experienced guest speakers here with us that they are going to share the knowledge and give us valuable information. And I'm sure you will be very happy to hear them. Um, and before we start, I would like to introduce our governing board. I start with Tony English. She is our president-elect. Janine Gershon, our secretary. Bree Henderson, our treasurer. And I don't see Christopher Wookie, our program director.
I'm on. Hello.
Yeah, and Neely Nathan, our membership director. So it's so nice to have all of you, and Batel Cohen, our social media coordinator. So I think we start with our first speaker. It's going to be Mr. Marty Nash, our CEO. Marty Nash is our Chief Executive Officer of the 11,000 member Greater Los Angeles Realtor Association, GLAR, with nearly 15 years of experience in association management. He's highly regarded as a strong and successful leader with vast experience in operations, member services, training, and event planning. Before joining GLAR, Nash was the chief of operating at the 52,000 Miami Association of Realtors. Wow. Where
largest in the country.
Yeah. Where they rapidly rose through the ranks during his 14 years tenure. Prior to joining GLAR as CEO, he worked as a Realtor Association consultant, including consulting for Ramco and GLAR, Greater Los Angeles Realtor. We are so happy to have you, Marty.
Thank you guys for the invite. It's such a pleasure to be here to be able to participate in this event. Anything that Greater Los Angeles Association of Realtors can do to support, we'll always be there to do so.
Thank you so much, Marty. I start my first question. Okay, how has the association pivoted to keep members informed and productive during this COVID-19?
Well, one of the biggest things that the association has done to pivot was everything became about education. Everything became about no longer being able to do some of the face-to-face things that we were so accustomed to doing on a daily basis. One of the quickest things, and I have to give a lot of credit to the GLAR team and to our volunteer leadership, including our president, Ronald Haas, for the work they've done and continue to do behind the scenes to make sure, you know, that what we do is successful. The biggest pivot we had to make was changing the way we do business, changing from being able to see hundreds of members daily into the association to get the things they need to digital. Everything became online. So we pivoted quickly for information, because when COVID first happened, people didn't understand or realize all of the things that were necessary that had to be done. So one of the first things was education. And the biggest thing was creating a town hall experience that we were doing on a weekly basis initially to educate our members on all things COVID related. And so that was one of the biggest pivots we had to make, was from face-to-face to you know, video to Zoom, basically. That was one of the biggest pivots that we had to make initially.
Beautiful, yeah, because I joined those town halls and they were very helpful, because you kept us all together with new information, with all the updates, with what's happening in the market, and it was really, really helpful to all of us. What has been the association fund during the pandemic?
I'm sorry, what was that question again?
What has been the association focus during the pandemic?
Again, our focus has been the education of our members. Without the education component, our members can't continue to do business. So that's been the focus, is educating our members. And I'm sure, you know, this will come up a bit later. The biggest focus, education, and from the rules and regulations of COVID to how to continue to do business. Back to basics is a lot of also has been a focus from the association and to our membership.
You know, the reason I brought this question again, because education is very important to all of us, especially that we are shelter at home and we are at home. So to get together on Zoom town halls and be educated by people like you, like our president, like other people from CAR and AR, that helps a lot to keep us busy with what we are doing and be knowledgeable in what we are doing, because there are a lot of rules and regulations, there are a lot of protocols going on. So we really have to be aware of that. That's very important. My next question is that how is the pandemic shaping the future of the association?
Well, one of the things that the pandemic has done, not only to, I believe, shape the future of the association, but it's shaping the future of how all of us are going to do things going forward. Everything is shifting to a paperless environment. Everything is shifting to an environment where you have to be more proficient in everything that you do. You have to be more resourceful in everything. You have to pay attention to the little things that go unnoticed. So one of the things this pandemic has helped the association with is looking at a better way to serve our members.
Exactly.
Looking at when we come out of this, do we go back to looking at situations where our members have to, pay for parking to come to an event? Do we look at situations where we can continue to offer the same level of benefits while still saving our members the time they've gone accustomed to being saved? So for example, if we're all accustomed to now being on Zoom, when this pandemic is over and hopefully over soon, we still need to be very efficient in how we offer information to our members. And if that's via Zoom, if that's via Skype, if that is one of the things that we've done is with education, for example, is reducing the cost of education events for our members. 99% of the education that we offer is at zero cost as a member benefit. It's not just the free education, but the different ways our members can receive it. And so, for example, if members have the opportunity of getting in their vehicle and driving anywhere, whether it be to the association or elsewhere, or from the comfort of their home or the comfort of their office, get what it is that they need, that's one of the things we shifted to. From example, building an electronic library, an e-library, for all of our members at any given moment to go to our website and find not only current information, but any education information event that they may have missed in the past. It's a living, breathing source of information for our members. Another way the pandemic has shifted the association is being able to live stream. Prior to this, again, going back to education, how you do business, the ability to not just do Zoom now, but relatively soon, the ability for any speaker we can invite into the association, practicing social distance. No members have to actually physically be in the seats, but they can get that live content streaming no matter where they are, whether it be from their car, from their house, from their office. That's the biggest way I believe the pandemic has helped and shifted the association to not only how we do business now, but to continue to be efficient and cost effective in the way business is done going forward.
Beautiful. That's really nice. That's really great what you guys are doing. I know you guys are doing a lot of good things for the members, and you've been very busy. I see you everywhere, you guys, on every town hall, on every meeting, because you want to know what's going on, just to transfer it, to transmit it to the members, and which is really nice. You've been very supportive to your members, and that's great. That's great. Marty, can a realtor host an open house in person? This is a question that is coming up every day. And a lot of realtors, they don't know whether they can host an open house in person. What's going on?
Well, the easy answer to that question is no. Realtors.
That was very easy.
It's a very easy answer. Realtors cannot conduct open houses. And I'll take a step backwards, because one of the things that Greater Los Angeles Association of Realtors did from the very beginning, with the help of our public policy team, and most important with the help, like I said, of our president, is getting involved in local government. Because initially when the pandemic happened, real estate in LA County was not listed as essential. that was one of the things that our association got very involved in very early to make that a reality. With that being said, not following the proper procedures could very easily have that opportunity removed or taken away from us. So when it comes to open houses, it's an easy no. It's a direct no. It's a no to the point of we have encouraged, not only encouraged our members, but we won't even sell open house signs to our membership. You will not be able to find those available at our online store. We continuously tell members open houses are not permitted under these current circumstances, and there are 0 exceptions to that open house rule.
Yeah, that's true, because we have the privilege of being essential business, and we should really follow the protocols and rules and regulations. Otherwise, they're going to take this away from us. And unfortunately, I see some realtors that they don't pay attention to these protocols and rules and regulations. But something else is coming up. What is going on with if somebody puts a sign out there?
Well, we're still looking at the details of that, but here's what we do know for certain. As it stands right now, I believe a press release came out yesterday from the Department of Health, very saying that there's a ramp up in policing non-essential businesses, and open house, since you cannot do, could potentially fall underneath that. But what's in writing right now is fines will start to happen for non-essential business who are conducting business when they should not be. I believe those fines will start somewhere around $500 for that. Now, the same thing with masks, that's becoming mandatory in a lot of different cities, and recently saw where the fines will go into effect as well. Right now, as it pertains to open house signs, we can discourage them. But we're still waiting for the fine print to be laid out there for what the penalties would look like for placing open house signs at any property.
That's really great. I know you're on top of everything, but has GLAR created any resources to help realtor navigate the rules changes and regulations, something like this?
We created several resources. Like I said previously, our e-library is definitely a great resource. The broker town halls that were initiated again by our president, and we co-host those. We started out doing those weekly. Those have transferred into monthly sessions. That's a huge resource for brokers, for managers to gather information and take that back to their agents. And even more so, for real up-to-date information, one of the first things that we did was get our COVID website up and running. So that is probably one of the greatest resources that we have. On our COVID site, you can find local information, state information, and national information without having to search or bounce around from site to site. So, ever since our COVID site, which is covidglr.com, that's probably one of the greatest resources during this pandemic for our membership, and not just our membership, for realtors around the city, around the state, around the county of LA. That resource is a great one. And that's one that's going to last for quite some time. And we update it daily. And so there's no waiting for information when you can find the information live right there on our COVID website.
Yeah, I think so, because it applies to all the realtors throughout the state. It's not only exclusively for our association. It applies to all the realtors throughout the state to get the update of what's happening, So the town halls you have is great. It's for managers and brokers and everything. But what you have on the side, it allows the members to get the access to the updates of what's happening. And that helps a lot, because at the beginning, everybody was confused. What's going on? How we can conduct our business? But you guys just put it together, and you were there to hold our hands and guide us through these difficult times. And we really appreciate, because you were there and we were relying on you guys, and you were out there for us. You didn't disappear. So this is really.
You wouldn't let us.
Well,
No,
we
no,
couldn't-
that's,
we
Thank you for
couldn't-
not
true.
disappearing.
No, that's true. Otherwise,
one of-
I would put you wanted, Marty Nash, or Ryan only. No, you were
One of the-
there. You
one-
were really great. You were really great.
One thing I'd like to add about the broker manager town halls is that when we went to monthly, we started doing guest speakers, and we're recording those, and we're sharing that in the e-news library, and then and other sources, so all of our members can share in it. So the one that we had at the beginning of this week was with the senior legal counsel, or his assistant legal counsel. So he's one from the top. He's just right underneath June at CAR, Guff Hutchinson. And so we recorded that, and that was posted the other day. Our next one that's coming up on August 14th is going to feature Joel Singer, the CEO of CAR, and President Gene Radzik. And then, so the September 11th special guest is going to be Sanjay, who is the chief lobbyist for CAR up in Sacramento. And he's going to come in and give us some timely updates on all the legislative issues, because that's about when we'll start to receive our ballots in home, if that happens. And we'll see if that happens, but that's when we normally would get our ballots. At least here in California, we will. So he'll give that up. And so those are some of the things that we're doing with that program. And we'll always record those sessions and make them available to more than just the broker managers.
Beautiful. So having all these things going on, how have members, now it comes to members, how have members responded to online classes and meetings and everything?
Well, the response has actually been it's been great. If you look at where we were with education and events and the attendance prior to this, and looking at almost a 58% increase in attendance, because there's not only a different way to get that information out to our members, but the quality of the information, I think, is key. Because you can attend anything, but if you're not getting substance from that information that's being provided, it's pointless. And so our members know that, people who go to our e-library know that. And so you've seen that increase time and time again, even when it comes to something as simple as educating our new members, new member orientation. You know, the difficulty sometimes it is to educate brand new realtors can be challenging for an association. And now we're easily at a point where we're offering new member orientations weekly because they were maxing out for brand new realtors wanting to get that information while it was necessary. So that's very key. And that's what we're committed to doing. And as Ryan stated, it's not just for our members, it's for realtors everywhere. That's why the COVID website is public. That's why our e-library is not behind a password. Anybody who wants the information, it's available at our association.
You know, you answered my next question. My next question was going to be, how are you handling new realtors? What happens with the orientation, you know? So, because I know they get a lot of information when they come, you know, in present, because I've been there and I've seen that. But I was wondering how you are handling the new members.
Same way as we're doing everything else at this point. It's all virtual. We were doing it weekly, as I stated, for new members. Our process is very simple. You join the association. We pretty much are automating everything. You receive an automated email from us saying, thank you, one, for your membership. Two, here's the next thing that we think you should do. New member orientation being one of that. And we make the process of registering for new member orientation very simple, you know, 1 or 2 clicks. If you have to go through 5 steps to do anything, especially now, you're likely not to do it. So one is to make it easier and more convenient for the members. And we've managed to do that. And two, it's not only telling them that it's required, because sometimes when you hear it's required, you may tune away. But when you say it's beneficial, that's different. And so we're just changing the way that we do things, changing the way how we communicate to our members, and letting them know don't do it because you have to, do it because you want to, one, and do it because it's going to value or add value to your business. And we start right in our new member orientation process, and it's been going very, very well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Marty, for the great information. Please stay around because we may have some questions for you, and we really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Now,
and I'll be right here. Thanks.
okay, good. I'm watching you. Don't go away. Well, okay. Our next guest is going to be our president, Ryan Oli Haas. Ryan, thank you for being with
You
us.
said it right. Woo!
I've been practicing it since last week. Ryan Olihas, Ryan Olihas.
It's Oli like holy, which is there's no
Oli and
correlation,
Molly.
which is no correlation to me.
Okay. So Ryan was born and raised in Los Angeles. He started his career in real estate in 2004. Since then, he has worked on a high-powered residential team in new homes constructions, partner, CCO of property management company, commercial real estate, and today is an independent broker. He serves as a CAR and NAR director, as well as a few nonprofit organizations working to provide services and solutions to homelessness. Beautiful, Ryan. Ryan and his dog Owen have lived in Santa Monica since 2015, where they are both active members of the community. I have to admit that he has a very cute dog. I mean, he's so cute. You should have the picture with you.
He's laying on the floor next to me. He'll make an appearance before the day's over.
Okay, Ryan.
Yes, ma'am.
There are a lot of things happening in our business.
Just a few.
And you've been attending a lot of seminars. I've seen you everywhere. So tell us what's going on with the right forms. Let's see that I want to show a property. How do I start? What is the first step I should take?
Well, so like Marty had mentioned, we have our COVID site, and I see that Scott's put it in there as well. So please go there because, this is constantly changing. It was changing almost like hourly back in March and April, and now it's kind of slowed down to weekly, I think, is the changes that are coming from our state. And we're getting direction from OSHA, we're getting direction from the DRE, we're getting direction from the governor's office, and we're getting direction from CAR. Then we have to go down to the local level. And here in our district for Greater LA Realtors, we have 5 cities that we serve: West Hollywood, Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, Culver City, and Los Angeles. And 4 of those are in LA County because they're their own cities. So we have county rules, we have local city rules, and all that's on that COVID site. So please always default there. And then if you have any questions, CAR has a great hotline. They said that the hotline, their calls are way up this year over last year, even though a lot less transactions are taking place. So a lot of those things have to do with COVID, and we're also seeing a lot of deals. It's harder to close deals right now. But yeah, so the first thing that you should do first is if you're the buyer's agent or tenant's representative, is get your client, and you have to, everybody that's going to enter the property has to fill out what's called the PEADV form. It's a visitor form, and those are constantly changing. So don't create a template in like zip form because it won't automatically update. You have to pull that form individually every time. There are some different groups, and CAR is having a big webinar next week with Glide. Glide has added PEAD form to their library to make it really easy for us to kind of, as listing agents, keep all those in one place and make it more easy to kind of keep records. But so yeah, the PEAD form is the first step, and what that does is it's those of you should already know this, what it does, but it basically you make some statements about that you haven't been exposed to COVID as far as you know. You don't have any of the symptoms, and then it also states that if you do develop those symptoms or you do actually get diagnosed with COVID, that you have to make the other parties aware. And that would be all parties that were involved in the transaction that you came in contact with. And then if you're the listing agent, you're gonna have to let the sellers know, you have to have buyers know, you have to let a lot of people know. So it also covers off on people bringing children. So in the city of Los Angeles, we're only allowed to show a property with 2 people plus the showing agent. The showing agent could be the buyer's agent or the listing agent, just 1 agent and 2 people. So if you are a family, this has become controversial. If you're a family or, and you have a child, you can't all 3 come in at the same time. So one parent have to come with the child, and then the other parent would have to come in the child, but all 3 of you can't come in. So it makes things a few extra steps, but so far people have responded really well to it. I know that the properties that are on the market and come on the market are selling, and you guys know this. Sherry and Tom have a brokerage. A lot of you guys are, active right now. Multiple offers over asking is pretty common across the state and across the country right now from all the data that we're seeing and articles we're reading. So,
Ryan, talking about PEAD V, PEADV, do we have to get a new one every time we go to that property? Or if you just give you one for this property and come back in a week or so, can I use the same? Or do I have to give you, as a listing agent, buyer's agent, I have to give you a new one every time I bring my clients there?
well, so first I'm going to state I'm not an attorney, and nor do I play one on TV. So I will repeat what Gov Hutchinson has said several times in several meetings, and I was just on one at CAR. Tom was there, and some of you may have been there. The law does not state that you have to fill out more than one. It's kind of a little bit loose on that. However, best practice would be, it says within 24 hours, of the showing. So I would argue that if I've seen the property on Monday, and then I want to come back and see it again on Friday, do I need to technically provide one? Well, I guess Gov has said if nothing has changed, then probably not. Like if you've been responsible, you've been quarantined, but if you've been out there and you've been, grocery shopping and doing other things that could have possibly changed the dynamics, I don't know. I think that the best practice is to provide a new one, but it's certainly not required. So I guess it gets into this weird place like, well, if nothing's changed, then I don't need to fill one out. If something's changed, then I probably shouldn't be seeing the property, right? Like, I mean, because now I'm putting people at risk. Like if I'm like, oh yeah, I was at a barbecue with 30 people on Saturday, but now is it smart for me to be, putting myself and others at risk? So some of it has to do with, I guess, law, and some of it has to do with what's, I guess, socially and ethically responsible, right?
Beautiful.
So we always, from the very beginning of this, we reacted to COVID with member information before CAR did, right? We were out right away. It was a Friday before the weekend. I remember we sent out the email because I remember that I had received an email from the NCAA about what was going to go on with March Madness, and because they were still planning to have it at the time. And I immediately forwarded to Marty and said, we need to borrow some of this and get this out to our members. And so we've always taken the more conservative, more ethical, socially responsible approach. We've said that we're like, there's two ways to do things. There's what technically the law says and what's the right way to do it, right? And so that's what we've always, promoted with our members, because that's, we have responsibility to our fellow realtors, our clients, the communities, their families, if they have them. Like, so it's something we take really important, really important.
Seriously, yeah. That's great. That's great. So how do you handle if somebody comes and to your not open house, to your property and is not wearing a mask? How do you handle that?
Well, you're giving me all the legal questions. Okay.
No, right. But
I'm gonna channel my inner Gov. So the way that Gov has answered this is, if someone says they're not going to wear a mask, you can't immediately refuse them entry. You have to, engage them in engage them in a process, I guess, or, in an interaction, right? So you have to then have a conversation with them. Well, why aren't you going to wear a mask, right? They could say it's for health reasons. They could say it's for a lot of things. But if they're just straight out like, well, no, F the system, I'm not wearing a mask, you legally do not have to let them into the property, because the reason why denying somebody would be an ADA requirement, basically based on their health or whatever. But the ADA strictly states that changes when you're putting somebody at risk, at health risk, right? And so Gov has said, well, a global pandemic of catastrophic proportions that could possibly end you up in the hospital or dead, I think that qualifies as putting you at health risk. So therefore, he said, if someone's just going to straight up try to put you at risk, you don't have to. But if they say, oh, it's because of I can't breathe because I have I have problems with my lungs and stuff like that, it becomes really at that point, a very complicated situation, right? And so, hopefully people are doing the right thing. You know, they're not putting people at risk. You know, there's all this question around like, how do we sanitize properly? Like, what are we sanitizing, right? And so some of the things that help us prevent having to go through a complete, like, you know, wall to wall, floor to ceiling disinfection is when people are wearing gloves and masks and stuff like that. So even though in some areas gloves aren't required, you know, it's again required versus best practice, right? Like if they're wearing gloves, you know that if they touch a doorknob, you know, in going into some area or whatever, that they're not going to have, probably they're not going to pass germs along. The other recommendation is that this has nothing to do with the actual question, but it has to do with showing property. You know, we definitely recommend that all of the realtors get there early. Whoever the showing agent is, open up all the doors that somebody would want to open up. You know, if you're going to allow them to use the bathroom, then, you know, you're going to have to disinfect the bathroom. So some people have said, well, you could keep the bathrooms closed or just have the door open and just tell them, you know, that they, you know, because it becomes a big difference in disinfection if they've actually used the restroom or washed their hands or facilities and stuff like that. So
Yeah, you almost answered my next question. My next
nobody
question
wants to be
was,
cleaning toilets, right?
no,
I
what are
mean,
the proper procedure a realtor should follow during showings?
again, you're going to have to default to what the rules are of your location. So if you're in one of the 4 cities, that's going by the county rules, and you're going to want to look at the county guidelines. If you're in the city of Los Angeles, you're going to want to go by the city guidelines. They're very close. But again, I think it comes down to being conservative. So, you know, obviously following the rules, making sure people are doing the social distancing 6 feet apart, not showing it to too many people, more than people that should be according to the local laws. You know, everybody needs to wear a mask, but we just kind of covered off on masks. Everybody needs to sign the PEAD form. The property is supposed to be disinfected before and after each showing. You know, so yeah, so everybody registered, everything disinfected. And then, you know, if you can, you know, I recommend, you know, if you have more than one person on your team, or if you have a buddy that's in real estate that you can get to maybe be outside while you're showing the property, because obviously you can't have more people inside. It kind of just prevents anybody from coming in unwanted. It could be even the sellers coming back early or something like that. I think we just have to all be careful about those things, but not everybody has extra staff.
Also for the listing agent to leave all the doors open, the windows, the closet, everything, so people don't touch anything.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So whoever the showing agent is, right, is to go open up all those things. So in a lot of cases, personally, I know for me, the listing agent hasn't been showing up to the showings. They've been saying, here's access, you let yourself in, clean it up after you leave, and then they leave like a bottle of Lysol, and like it's not great, but so, you know, but a lot of them aren't showing up. So it's kind of it becomes your responsibility. And that's where things have gotten kind of a little bit complicated because, you know, how do they know and all this other stuff. And then, you know, the cleaning, then people are starting to talk about cleaning products damaging things. And so, you know, who's liable if I'm the showing agent and I'm representing the buyer and I disinfect something that I thought needed disinfecting, and the disinfectant cleaner now tarnishes or ruins a surface, you know. So try to have all these conversations with the listing agent, try to get the listing agent to show up at least so that they don't have to walk through the property with you and your client, but they certainly can be the one responsible for the before and after sanitization, so that it's not, you know, so that there's no, you know, it lessens the margin for conflict or, you know, liability.
Well, you have the listing agent waiting at the door
Right.
with some wipes.
Yeah.
And sanitizing things. As soon as you walk out, they come in and clean.
There's services out there. Have you guys been hearing about all the services that are being offered now? I mean, I'm getting contacted almost daily by different companies with their different, you know, snake oil or process or whatever that they're going to disinfect. And I'm like, my biggest thing is like, let me see your contract about your guarantee. That's the first question I ask them as soon as they solicit me. Let me see what your guarantees are on that you're going to actually disinfect. And then they're like, I guess there's some other things out there, like people are disinfecting with drones now. I guess they're testing drones that like disinfect stadiums and stuff like that. So that they're like with massive drones that would go and disinfect whole stadiums, and people are like, yeah, I don't know about that. So People are getting creative though. Listen, hey,
Yeah.
people got a lot of time on their hands right now, right? So they're getting super creative.
No, we don't require them to sweep the floors and clean the windows, but just something, to clean the surface. And we have to be careful with the products that we use for disinfection.
Yeah.
Well, so you said who are responsible is the listing agent and seller, and then if they are not available, it's the buyer's agent that they have to clean after themselves. Well, that's interesting. Do we have to disclose if the seller or the tenant had COVID-19? Do we have to disclose this to the potential buyer?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the forms really state it, make it very clear that you have to disclose that. I guess the question has come up about like, at what point is it clear, right? So they say that like the CDC and everybody says 2 weeks of quarantine, right? So if somebody had COVID back in April, do I need to disclose that? Again, law versus best practice, right? So the law states I think that you're in the clear if it's, outside of the window, but, I don't know. I think I personally, I haven't run into this yet, but I guess I would ask the group here what your thoughts are on that. I would disclose it. I think that it's just, I would want to know, but if you told me it was in April, I'd feel pretty comfortable about going in there. If you told me it was last week, that's a different story.
But what if a buyer was in that property 2 weeks ago and we just found out that the tenant or the owner had a COVID-19? Do we have to disclose to that buyer that was in the okay?
Yeah, absolutely. And you also have to hunt down everybody that's seen the property in between that showing and make sure that they know. And the other thing too that's interesting is, and this came up early on in this, was that it's for every entrant to the property. So as you get into escrow, appraiser, inspectors, everybody needs to sign that PEADV form. And then it doesn't specifically state, I don't think that they fixed the language that it says, I think it says like, you will notify buyers and sellers if this happens, but I think that you should write into that blank, I think it's section 8 or whatever it is, that all parties will be notified. So I think that just feels like everybody's protected. Cause I know that was some language that was missing, but I haven't read it. I think, I think the last version was last Friday maybe. So.
Yeah, I think it was last Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan, what is the status of the moratorium on eviction? Because this question is coming up from a lot of agents that are handling property management.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
So far we've seen extensions to the moratorium to the end of September 30th in the cities of Santa Monica, West Hollywood, and I believe the county, but we haven't seen it in the city of LA and Culver City yet, but I believe that they're going to follow pretty soon. So we're watching that, but I would just assume that all those moratoriums will be extended to September 30th. I know that we're watching it because I sent an email around to our public policy group yesterday, as well as Marty, for us to be watching the other areas, because once, I think maybe it's the city and not the county, but once they all kind of go, then we need to send out some information to our members. So likely something will go out by Monday, I would imagine next week to the members, or it will at least be in our newsletter next Wednesday, our e-newsletter, letting people know that a few cities have changed and that they need to be checking those deadlines. And, it really comes down to, there's the deadlines. And then again, right, there's the law, which is the deadline. And then there's the feasibility, right? Mm-hmm. So I was a property manager. I helped build a company and know what that's like. And it's already can be a very painful process. But right now with these moratoriums, Steve Soto, I didn't know you were Yolanda. It's a beautiful transformation. And so back to sorry, I lost my train of thought, but yeah,
we're talking about eviction.
Yeah. So we're going to send something out to the members, but it comes down to feasibility, right? Is what I was saying. And so the courts are still closed, and there's no expectation as to when the courts are going to open back up. So how are you going to execute an unlawful detainer if the courts are closed, right? And so that's the other piece of the pie. So, you know, like as a former property manager, you know, and a lot of them have said it on our different calls with public policy, you know, Robert Kronevad and some of the, you know, Tika and Irma and them, is that it's not advantageous for a landlord to try to get rid of a tenant. Like, right, it's cheaper to keep your tenant and work something out. And we all know that. So this is an unusual circumstance because right now this could go a minimum of 9 months before a landlord sees a dollar, according to these moratoriums, which is going to really, really negatively impact some landlords, especially the small mom and pop owners, which then they may have to sell, and they'll likely sell to corporations. And then it really shifts how we do things in our market when a lot of corporations are buying, you know, all the commercial space and all the multifamily space. So that's something that we've been advocating heavily with. You know, we mentioned it yesterday. I was on a call with LA BizFed with Mayor Garcetti, and that was something that we brought up to him was, you know, how are we protecting landlords? Because this is going to be actually a bigger problem for the city when, you know, 30% of our buildings get bought up by big corporate entities, right? You know, it's gonna really change. It could really change the dynamics of things. So so we've been advocating on trying to get some relief for landlords so that they're not shouldering all the burden.
You know, something very interesting came up this morning at the CAR meeting. We had a CAR meeting early this morning, and I think it was Goff that mentioned that the tenant was not paying rent because they said they have hardship because of COVID-19, and the landlord sees a brand new Tesla.
Yeah, that was an example they gave, right?
Yeah, parking
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
in front of the house, and there's nothing the landlord can do except that the landlord can sue them.
Yeah, I think the lawsuit, though, I don't even know, like, at this
Ryan,
point,
real quick, I'm so sorry. We're at 1:50 and we still have to do Jonathan.
Okay. So that was for the eviction. And
Thank
the
you.
last question I have for you, Ryan, is marketing. What shall we do or not do? Just go through this quickly for us.
So I think the question is specifically about kind of like, well, obviously no, we're not allowed to have any materials at the showing of any kind. So that's number one. And then door knocking is not allowed, right? We're not allowed to door knock. I mean, you know, there's some argument that it could be like, well, if I knock on the door and I run away and I'm 6 feet away, but it's just all in all, it's bad business practice. But dropping off of flyers is okay. That's what the CAR has said. So that's kind of everything else. Social media is distance. But as far as actual person-to-person marketing, which I think is what you were getting at, that's kind of the rule of thumb.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ryan. That was great. Please stay around because we may have some questions for you. Now we move to our next great speaker, Jonathan.
Hi, how are you?
Open houses. Jonathan, it's so nice to have you. And it's so nice to get the information from you because these days everybody relies on virtual tools. And because this is the only way the buyers can preview the properties.
Correct.
And it makes a lot of difference for a buyer to see the virtual tour of the property before they walk into that property. Well, let's see. Jonathan is an industrial engineer who has developed vast experience in marketing and technology for over a decade and has successfully adapted his knowledge to the real estate industry. As a result, Jonathan founded Visual Open House, one of the first companies in Los Angeles specialized in combining ultra-advanced 3D virtual tours and professional photography exclusively for the real estate industry. Jonathan, I have some great questions for you that all agents would love to know what's happening.
Sure.
What are the most relevant marketing tools for listing during COVID-19?
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me here, Sherry. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, that's a great question. As you know, well, we are doing business so differently right now due to COVID-19. I'm going to start, of course, from the beginning. Photos, you have to show a lot of beautiful pictures. That is very important. Definitely, you know, for some people that in the past, they were just going to the properties and taking photos with their cell phones. That's not the case anymore. Definitely, I would recommend to those realtors that used to do that in the past, do not do it anymore. Just hire a professional photographer to, you know, showcase the property correctly. And on the second level, of course, everybody's now with the virtual tour in their minds. And that is correct. That's the closest thing you have to an open house, as you know, and as Ryan was commenting before. All open houses are prohibited right now. Nobody can do any kind of open house. So the closest thing you have is a virtual tour. Okay, so on the second level would be a 3D virtual tour. That's the best way to show the property, to show the flow, and to show the layout and how the property actually is without being really there. On the third level, we would get the video tour. And then that is pretty much like kind of the same. I'm gonna actually explain a little bit later what is the difference, but it's kind of the same, but of course the video, it's a little more cinematic and it has a few differences. Okay,
You
the
just
other,
mentioned, yeah, but you just mentioned virtual tour and 3D. What is the difference between these two?
yeah, so and it's very important to mention, thank you for the question, the difference between both. When people were used to say all the time, yes, virtual tours, but actually we have several types of virtual tours. One is the 3D virtual tour. One of the main technologies available is Matterport. That's the one actually I use. I have every single 360 camera available in the market, and I go every year to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas trying to find new technologies. And Matterport is still the best technology available to do 3D virtual tours. On the other side, there's the video virtual tour, and it's a difference. With a 3D virtual tour, I would love to, maybe there's some links at the GLAR.com at the library where you can find actually difference. I explained in detail what is the difference between both. But just to give you a big idea about it, is that the 3D virtual tour you can walk through and you can measure the property, and it's a 360 photo. On the other side, a video virtual tour, that's what it is. It's a video, it's a film. So I film the property and I create like a mini movie with some music, nice background music, add some titles. And then if the realtor want to have some voiceover, that's also a great thing to do as well, that goes over the video tour. So yes, there's a big difference between 3D tours and virtual tours. And if you want to make a difference in terms of targeting, I would go with this one. The 3D virtual tour definitely is more appealing for younger crowds. And then the video tours are more appealing to older crowds. No, you're still in the virtual tour crowd. But definitely that's the way to target. And if you have the budget to do both, do both. But it's very important to have either or and in your marketing scope. And
It's
then
amazing because with a finger touch, you can go through the whole house with 3D and see what's happening. You really don't need to be in their place.
Correct. That's correct. So it is really like being there. You can click wherever you want to go, and then it's going to take you. You still can use your goggles, your VR goggles. The link includes already the button to watch the virtual tour in VR. So it is amazing. It is really good.
It is amazing, yeah.
And I was gonna say that on top of that, the next most important marketing tool is the floor plan. Some realtors in the past used to do a lot of floor plans, but now it's really important because people need to see the layout in paper, like how's it look. That's very important before they go to the property. So floor plans are really, really important as well.
Yeah, I know, because the buyers, they are reluctant to go to different properties. They rather sit at home and go through the website and, preview the property.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's interesting. What are the measures Visual Open House is taking during COVID-19, Jonathan?
Sure. Well, there are a few things that we've done, of course, adapting to the new trend and the new situation with COVID-19. First of all, we are definitely encouraging realtors to talk with the sellers and explain them that the safest and fastest way to photograph property is when the sellers are not present in the property. We are actually encouraging them to, go for a walk or have a picnic in the backyard. And if they don't feel comfortable leaving the house, alone with a stranger, we totally understand that. When then the realtor can stay, of course, but a full family, in the house is not very safe. Well, photographers are switching between rooms and taking photos here, and then the drone guy is outside. So it's always better, and I think it's the most responsible way to just step out for a second, just 1 hour, grab some food, and then come back, and then you're gonna have your house fully ready to go. And of course, while we're shooting, we're taking all the precautions. We're wearing gloves, we are wearing masks, disinfecting all our equipment before and after the shoot. So we're taking this very seriously. We increased our liability insurance twice, just in case, because you never know what is going to happen. But yeah, we're definitely taking this very seriously. And
That's nice.
so yeah, so those definitely are we adapted in full to what is going on with the situation to make the transaction as safe as possible.
What can you recommend to realtors during this uncertain time?
Well, what I definitely recommend, I think that after this happens, once the pandemic is over, hopefully soon, I think that buyers will be expecting all that they've seen now. They will be expecting 3D tours. They will be expecting, floor plans, beautiful photography, video tours, everything. So that's my recommendation. Once this is over, it's not like, all right, now the pandemic is over. Now I'm able to do open houses. I'm going to go back to take photos myself with the phone. I don't think that is going to be the best idea. I think that actually this stepped up a little bit the game, and I think that we need to take advantage of it. And that's my recommendation. So looking forward, into the future is like, okay, now that we've seen all these happening and we've seen all this technology happening and all these buyers are now get used to it. So let's keep it up, and then show the properties in the right way. So this creates more opportunities for both sellers and buyers. And of course, if as a realtor, if you're doing a listing presentation and you're showing all your beautiful marketing to your potential seller, guess what is going to happen? And you're going to say, well, this is what I did before, and this is what I'm still doing. So the chances you're going to get the listings, of course, are going to be higher. So that's my recommendation, and of course, try to stay positive and be aware of what is going on and just keep going.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you. Please stay around. We need you for some questions.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
It was our pleasure to have you. The last but not the least, Steve, you made it. It's so nice to see you. Can you just 1 second. You have to unmute Steve. Tanya, would you please unmute Steve Soto?
Okay, I think I'm okay.
Okay, you're okay now. Thank you so much. Steve, he's from Optimum Seismic. Optimum Seismic is the oldest and largest retrofit company in California. They have been around for 35 years. I wasn't even born. And have completed over 350 seismic projects. Let's see about Steve. Steve has a degree in law and has a 30-year career and retired from municipal government. He was the redevelopment economic development director for 3 different cities. His job was to bring sales tax to cities by negotiating and bringing in major businesses such as auto malls, shopping centers, Home Depots, and other retail centers. The success and wealth of a city and what he can provide for its residents is based on the amount of sales tax the city has to spend. So you were the guy that was just setting the sales tax, huh?
I tried.
Well, Steve, after he retired, became a substitute teacher for a couple of years before he joined Optimum Seismic. We welcome you, Steve, and tell us, People would like to know, what is a soft story? What do you guys do with a soft story? What is the retrofit of a soft story? What is it?
Okay, a soft story is basically an apartment building that has the parking underneath. And as a result of the structure of the whole thing, it's very, very susceptible to collapse during an earthquake. So as a result of that, and all the cities being aware of it, they are passing ordinances that it has, the soft story buildings have to be retrofitted within a certain amount of time. Some cities say within 5 years, you have to have it retrofitted. Some cities say 7 years you have to have it retrofitted. Well, that's been causing questions and problems because one person who owned one of these apartment buildings said, okay, I have 7 years before I have to do anything about it, so I'm not going to worry about it till the 7th year. Well, I think the 4th year into it, there was an earthquake, and 2 of his residents died. They got killed during the earthquake. So the families of those residents sued the owner, and the owner was saying, "What are you saying? I'm free and clear because I'm within the 7-year period of time." The courts held that you were on notice that your building was deficient, and as a result of you being on notice, and the 7 years didn't make any difference, you had to comply and fix that as soon as you were aware of it, and you were spending money fixing the elevators in your place, fixing your hardscape and landscape. And they said, instead of spending that money, you should have spent it to retrofit your building. So they held him responsible for $1 million liability for each person that died. And this was 7 years ago. So that has been held up in court. As Ryan knows, that has been held up in court, and it's the precedent for all apartment owners. So when the city says you have 5 to 7 years to fix it, you do, but your liability is still there if an earthquake happens and injures one of the residents. So your liability never ceases.
So you mean every building that has a garage underneath, they have to do the retrofit?
Every building that has a garage underneath is called a soft story building, and it's to their benefit and to everybody else's benefits, especially people that want to rent there, to fix it as soon as you possibly can. And let me go off on another role here, as Ryan was saying, because of the COVID, and people are being excused of paying their rent on time. They're going to be liable for the rent by the end of this month, and at the end of this month, we're going to have a heck of a lot more people on the streets. And at the same time, we're as Optimum Seismic, we are not doing a lot of retrofitting for the soft story buildings because the owners don't know if they're going to have their apartment people in there renting. They're concerned, well, I don't want to spend X amount of dollars on a retrofit if I don't have all my tenants. It doesn't make sense financially. So this whole COVID thing has really caused a big problem for a lot of people.
How can you help the realtors during this COVID-19? I mean, how can Optimum Seismic help realtors during COVID-19?
We could basically meet with you and tell you what your responsibilities are towards the renters and to the people that want to rent, because maybe it's not in their best interest right now to do a lot of things that they've been wanting to do for years. And maybe it's in your best interest to let them know, let's go down a different direction right now as a resident, as a property owner, or as a renter.
What about commercial buildings? Does it apply to commercial buildings too?
It does not comply to commercial buildings unless they were constructed before 1976. Right now, in the past, the bulk of our business has been in residential. But as a result of what's going on with residential, we're doing most of our work for commercial buildings right now. So commercial buildings also are liable for the retrofits. They're not as susceptible to the damage during an earthquake as a soft story building, but they are still aware of their liability because they have tenants within their own buildings. So commercial buildings have to be concerned, but not as well or not as aware as a soft story owner.
That's nice. That's nice. What kind of measures Optimum Seismic is taking during COVID-19?
We, during COVID-19, we have really gone out on the humanitarian ways. We are furnishing masks. We are furnishing PPEs to a lot of different hospitals and a lot of different senior centers. We have finance YMCAs to give money out and to give meals out to some of the people that live in the area, because unfortunately this COVID-19 disproportionately affects a lot of the low to moderate income people. And so we are giving money out, and we have given food out to the YMCA in Downing, and they twice a week they give out the grab and go meals to the residents, and we've given out more than 20,000. They've given out more than 20,000, and we are a big supporter of them. So just like I said a few minutes ago, this COVID is disproportionately affecting a lot of people that don't have any rebound to this, and we're trying to help as much as we can.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Steve. Please stay around for if you have any questions for you. I'm going to ask Tani. First of all, I want to thank all our guest speakers. Thank you so much for your time and knowledge and valuable information you gave us. I want to acknowledge two very dear ladies from state, Women's Council of Realtors. We have our state president, Eileen Elroy, and we have Sabrina, our treasurer. It's so nice to have you guys, as well as having everybody here. I'm going to ask Tani, please, to help us with the questions on the chat.
Okay, and also before we get started, we also have our past and founding president, Bernadette, is online.
I don't see her. I don't see her. Where is she?
She doesn't have her video up. And we also have some VIPs from other networks too. I see we got Karen and Claudia and some others. So thank you for joining us. And I do not see any questions in the chat room. Do you guys want to unmute yourself and ask a question to any of our speakers? Veronica, Rose.
I think our speakers were great. They covered everything.
I do want to make a point about Optimum Seismic. So they've been a long supporter and involved with a lot of education, not only at Greater LA Realtors, but around the community. And we're working on a new series with them that's going to really educate a lot of our members. And so hopefully that'll be kicking off in August. August is a month at the association where we typically don't have committee meetings and board meetings, but we will still continue to have education, and we're going to look to step that up. It's also going to be our YPN month of giving, and Wookie serves on the state advisory board. But I spoke with their current vice chair and next year's vice chair about what they're going to be doing this year. So they're going to be doing something really cool. So we're looking forward to sharing that with all of you coming up here in the next week or so.
Oh, great. That's nice to know. I also want to add that this gentleman that we interviewed, they are our Diamond strategic partner, and we appreciate their involvement with our network.
Well, we're really proud. We're really proud of you, ladies, and what you guys have created, and gentlemen, of what you guys have created, and the success that you guys have done here. Being a new network is always challenging. I know years ago, I was one of the co-founders of our YPN at the association, and it's very challenging for a lot of reasons. And to continue the growth that you guys have and the participation, and your guys' installation was awesome. That was a lot of fun. And we're gonna, can't wait till we can all get back together and celebrate together and share some time together. But you guys are doing a fantastic job, and we're really proud that the founding members of this network are from our association and the leadership. And we will support you guys as much as we possibly can.
Thank you,
And
Tani.
we'll call you on that.
Oh, I know, Tani, you already have.
Tani, make a note, please.
You already
Make a
have.
note, Tani.
You already have. I said as much as possible. So that's, Marty knows, Marty's got the budget. So
There's a different definition for that.
That's right.
It depends how we interpret that. Connie, I like you to go over our strategic.
Eileen has her hand
I have
up.
a question.
Yes.
This question is for Ryan, and it's a game. It's a fun game. It goes
Oh.
under the category of you show me yours and I'll show you mine.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, that's too cute.
I remember that game.
This is Elmer. There we go.
Oh my God. Eileen, is that a Boston?
He's half Boston, half Frenchie. Yeah.
I have half Boston, half pug.
God, he's adorable. Look
Yes.
at that face.
So
He's very friendly.
Yeah.
oh my God.
Oh, that was fun. That was really fun.
That was a good one. That was a really good one.
Tani, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, with our strategic partners, please.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so here's our strategy partners, and I'd like to start with thanking our Diamond strategic partners. First off, of course, we have Greater Los Angeles Realtors Association. Thank you very much. And Jonathan from Vidger Open House. Thank you. And Steve Soto of Optimus Sesmetic. I'm stumbling today. And then our Topaz strategic partners, we have Mindy, who's on the line with us today. Thank you, Mindy.
Hi, nice to see
Hi,
everybody.
Mindy.
Hi, everybody.
And you know, Mindy, of course, is from mynhd.com. And we have Allstate with Lisa Feldman. Hold on, I got it buried here. And we also have Alyssa Fast from Glen Oaks Escrow. We have Corner Escrow with Jennifer Kirkendall. And then for our Ruby strategic partners, we have Statewide Escrow, which is Marina Clark. And for Topaz strategic partners, we have Rachel Brannon of C2 Financial Corporation. And we have the MLS. And we have Termigon.
Termigon.
There you go, Ariel de Guzman. So thank you all of our strategic partners. We really, really appreciate you all. We couldn't do this without you.
Thank you, everybody. Oh, look who is here. Rosanna is here.
Wait a second.
Oh, hi, Rosanna.
Rosanna Garcia,
No,
our state president-elect. Is she?
no, she's not on. That was me
Okay.
sharing.
Okay.
Stop sharing here.
Ah,
I was wondering why she showed up the last minute.
She's here in spirit.
Yeah,
Her
yeah,
spirit
no.
is with us. Yes, you're absolutely right.
I had a
Her spirit is
screenshot.
with
I
us.
had a screenshot of her, and that's what I was sharing on accident.
Well, everybody, thank you very much for your participation. We really appreciate every one of you. Women's Council of Realtors, LA Beverly Hills is there for you guys. We would love to have you back. And we are gonna have another great one coming up next month. We will inform
Stay
you.
tuned.
Can I make one more announcement? One more
Yes,
announcement?
please. Yeah.
So I'm going to put it in the chat here, but we started a series called Advancing Racial Equality in response to the George Floyd and all the senseless murders that are continuing to happen in our country. And so we have a great working group, but we have our second part of the series coming up this Monday at 1 p.m. We're going to be meeting with and interviewing the Black leaders from Greater Los Angeles Association of Realtors. Marty Nash, our CEO, will be the moderator. Tawny English will be one of the speakers. We're going to have Deborah Bratlaney, one of our past presidents, Crystal DaCosta, and also who's our fourth one? Crystal, Tawny. No, that's it. And Stacey Harris Green from our board of directors. Sorry about that.
Right.
But
Oh, yeah.
I put the link in the chat. We love and we have a really great one planned, part 3 of the series that's going to be coming up on August, I think, 18th, where we're going to be interviewing some great Black leaders from around the state that have been they've been trailblazing for decades within not only their communities, but the realtor organization. So certainly this is something that women can relate to, inequality, right? And so you guys are trailblazers and are making major statements and stands and progress in that movement. And so we have several movements, unfortunately, to create equality in this country. We also have it in the LGBTQ community, which is still not included in the Fair Housing Act, which we need to get added. But it is one of the protected classes here from discrimination in California, thankfully. So
Right.
that's my
Thank
last.
goodness.
That's my last.
Thank
thing.
you, Ryan.
Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful weekend. It was so nice to see all of you. Thank you for the participation. Thank you.
Great job, Sherry.
Good to see
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you.
Much
We love you.
love. Big
Bye,
love.
Sherry. Bye, guys.
Be safe, everybody.